Hello there you beauties, and welcome back to Pure Play TV for another video review. And in this one we're looking at Olija for PS4, Xbox One, PC and Nintendo Switch. All footage was captured on PS4 and a review code was provided by the publisher. This review comes from our network site pureplaystation.com, so give them a look for the latest news and reviews. Let's get on with it. When Skeleton Crew and Devolver Digital's Olija was announced, it was a fair statement to say that I was intrigued. A side-scrolling hack-and-slash platformer that instantly reminded me of the likes of Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and Ghosts and Goblins. I had to get my hands on it. Now, having played the game, I can say that Olija, unfortunately, falls well below my expectations. That's not to say that Olija is a bad game by any means. In fact, there are quite a few elements to the game that impress me, and it's not going to be a game left forgotten in my library. We'll start off immediately by answering the main question: what is Olija? Olija puts you in the boots of Lord Faraday, who has washed up in the mysterious land. The core objective of this game is to leave this strange land and return home. Throughout the course of the game you will come across fellow castaways seeking refuge and escape, and you will be tasked with rescuing them from dungeons. It's worth noting that a lot of this isn't actually explained in any exposition, and you will find yourself dropped into the game with a brief story told of your journey and how you found yourself washed up in this strange land. But don't expect the explanations and tutorials to come thick and fast. What I found most jarring about this game was in fact the aesthetic. At the beginning of the game, you will find your enemies come in the form of these little black blobs with teeth. The problem is, these black blobs usually blend in with the environment, and if you have questionable eyesight like myself, you may lose track of them as you fight. After that, the aesthetic isn't as annoying in a practical sense, but it just remains unattractive. Furthermore, there is also little difference between crates that you can break for health and crates that contain some acid type liquid, which is just an irritating inconvenience. For the first 20 minutes or so, I must admit that I was very confused and further concerned that the game hadn't shifted into second gear, and no context was given. I was picking up all of these items, but confused for what purpose they served. There was no explanation, and I went into my inventory multiple times to see if I was missing something. Luckily, all is explained at the end of the dungeon, but I was still bemused as to why I couldn't have been informed earlier. The items you pick up through the dungeons are used to craft hats, which grant you additional bonuses, my favourite being a hat that summons projectile blades that followed me around as I dashed forward, slashing my enemies as I passed them. You will eventually pick up the legendary harpoon, which is cool as it doubles up as a grappling hook for traversing dungeons. Once I got the harpoon, I finally started to enjoy Olija and take it for what it is. As Olija fails to explain many of its nuances, you will discover that prior experience with platformers comes in handy. Press down or up on the D-pad to climb ladders, for example. During the course of the game, you pick up ranged and melee weapons like an arrow repeater and a rapier. And again, you'll be left thinking, why not tell me that earlier? As instead of briefing you immediately, the game waits before informing you the prompt to cycle between your weapons. What Olija fails to deliver in context, it makes up for with fun and simple combat. There are no fancy combos, at least none that I found. Instead, mash your square and triangle and circle buttons to your heart's content. Square will give you your basic attack, triangle is used for your secondary weapon, and circle will let you throw your harpoon and use it as a grappling hook. The lack of combos makes for freedom in how you dispatch your enemies. For example, there are these wizard type enemies that throw little fireballs and give birth to smaller enemies. When faced with these, you're best suited to using your short distant attacks on the smaller enemies, while launching ranged attacks on the wizard. Incorporating the harpoon into your attacks, coupled with the aforementioned hat, makes for good fun as well, as you can focus on your main target while also taking out several little minions along the way. The first boss battle of the game highlights Olija's strong point. The simple and old school combat makes set piece battles like these fun and free of frustration. There is a simple rhythm and pattern to follow during the course of the battle, with changes only occurring at landmark stages of the battle when you've done so much damage. Although I felt a little bit disappointed that the game didn't fulfill my pre-play expectations, I will admit that Olija is one of those games that you will need to grin and bear the negatives in order to get to the positives. The simplicity is where the game hits the sweet spot, delivering a nostalgic feeling game, making for an easy enough experience to jump in and play. There are some glaring issues, mostly with the lack of context provided at relevant times, but they are easy enough to ignore and get on with. Olija offers a basic hack-and-slash platforming experience, and the best way to describe it would be video game junk food. The There's not much there, but it's quick and it's easy and it makes for a good time. And that's the end of this video. Now go away. Only joking. Stay a little longer and hit the like and subscribe buttons below, and maybe even hit the bell icon if you want to be the first to know when we've got new stuff. Be sure to give the info box a quick look too. You'll find our websites, social medias and a link to our supporters page if you feel like supporting our humble little team. I've been Chris. I recorded this video the first time saying Elijah, which is wrong, and I will see you on the next one. Until then, bye bye.